Brad McCulley here. Today I want to talk about asset performance, particularly mean time between failure. I think it's a key metric, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Come along this journey with me. The reason mean time between failure is so important is it really brings together two elements. The time I run a piece of equipment and how often it breaks. As a maintenance guy, I'm always thinking about how do I stop failures? How can I stop this thing from breaking so production can do their job? This metric brings those together and gives us a way to measure and see how the asset's performing, and also see how we're doing. So let's take a look at this metric in particular, and let me give you some examples. So the first thing to note is the measurement itself is total runtime of an asset, a department, or even a plant divided by the number of failures. That's simple enough. Now let's look at an actual example and look at the calculation. So here we have 2,000 hours. That'd be like running an asset 8 hours a day for one shift, 50 weeks. And it had 10 failures in a year. So there's 200 hours mean time between failure. So if I improve that, instead of 10 failures in a year, I have 8, I actually push mean time between failure up to 250 hours, right? So that's some improvement. Actually, 25% improvement. So it's interesting. So you can show exactly how we're improving and get better. And even incremental improvements will show this metric, and you can show our improvement. Now, there's other metrics behind this, like downtime. So once the failures happen, right, the cow's out of the barn, so to speak, then we got a lot of things that have to go on, chasing parts, troubleshooting, all this, and that downtime really matters. So it's a lot better to stop the failures than to be really good at fixing failures when they happen. And that's the whole concept behind this. But this metric doesn't stand alone. We're just talking about this metric in particular today. Now I do want to talk about one more thing. So not all failures are the same. Not all assets are the same. So there's some upfront work we need to do. We really need to label asset criticality, and there's other videos. I created other videos that talk about that. But also, not every failure is the same. And we really need to think about that. So let's just talk about that first. So here's a little picture. You can see we've labeled criticality 1, 2s, and 3s. You know, criticality 1, assets go down, they shut the plant down. 2, very important. 3, not so much important. And you can use whatever criticality labels you want. It's not that important. The fact is that you need to know that. But then there's also failures, right? Failure criticality 1, this is big time failure. Something really bad happens. In the CNC world I grew up in, ball screws, spindles, a lot of time to fix, very expensive to fix. So these are here, right? Criticality. Criticality 2, very important, but a little easier to fix, not quite as bad. And then criticality 3, a lot less. So you can see criticality 1 failures and criticality 1 machines, that's our first priority. So these failures here, these are really, helps you design a strategy when you're thinking about preventive maintenance. So in one of my other videos, I talked about failure by name, and that means that when we build countermeasures, preventive, predictive efforts, and it's going to cost money and time, that we should be targeted at specific failures, and we should be able to name those failures. And you should be able to, in your PM programs, be able to say, I am going to avoid critical 1s, critical 2s against critical 1 assets. And this is how you set your priority to actually solve the problem. So you can move your mean time between failure, 10, 15% improvement, but have a dramatic impact on the plant if you're eliminating failures in these areas. So that's really a little bit about how you design the strategy, how you think about mean time between failure, asset criticality, as well as failure criticality in your proactive countermeasure planning efforts. So I hope that helps. Anytime, thanks again. Any questions, please feel free to email me at bmcculley@advancedtech.com or give me a call. Just a little bit about measurements. Hope it helps. Thanks again. Talk to you next time. Bye.